Hello, everyone. It's time for Van Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 367, season 15. Today's date is September 29th, 2024, and welcome to the show. And yes, I am back for another program for this weekend. In today's program, I'm going to talk about two clothing stores that have closed in the Chicagoland area a long time ago. One is Evans Furrier. They sold mean coats, and they sold women's wardrobe. Also, I'll talk about William A. Lewis that sold women's clothing. So I'll talk about my memories of those two stores, and that should be a lot of fun. Also, I'll do part two of the television debuts that they have their anniversaries in September. One is from the 1970s, and I'll do from the 1980s. And I think that'll be it. Yeah, so I'll talk about my memories of watching those shows. Okay. First, the program will go to a commercial break. And this program is brought to you by Morton's Donuts. It's Morton Donuts. Excuse me. And here's a commercial from 1975. I remember these. Who doesn't like donuts? Well, except my mom. She don't like them. So that's okay. But everyone loves donuts. So sit back and relax. I'll be right back with the show, folks. Thank you.
My house just hasn't been the same. Not since I discovered light and airy donuts from the Morton Donut Shop. And now Morton has something new. 3 great tasting old-fashioned cake donuts. Plain, powdered, and sugar and spice. They're so rich and moist because they're made from a special recipe, the Donut Shop way. And frozen fresh, so they're fresh whenever you want them fresh. Tomorrow, let Morton turn your house into a donut shop.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Morton Donuts from the commercial is from 1975. I remember this product very well. I remember the commercials. They were frozen donuts. They came in a few flavors. Let me try to tell you which kind. One was glazed, jelly. They were mini donuts, and they had honey buns. And I don't know if you're supposed to heat them up. Probably, Well, yeah, I assume you do. You did. I'm sorry, like that. Yeah, that you heat them up like that. I never bought them. My mom never did. So she considered donuts a very unhealthy snack, which is true. Besides, I had a donut today. Just one. So I try to cut down. And the company was from the Morton Frozen Foods, and it's been discontinued. And they also made pot pies too. And I think they made other pies. I remember chocolate cream pie they made, and they were manufactured in the United States for many years, almost 50 years, and then it was acquired by Conagra Foods, and then they just disappeared. I haven't seen them. So the man who started it, his name was Harold Morton, and he began making chicken and noodle dishes sold in glass jars in Louisville, Kentucky, and then it transitioned to frozen foods after World War II. And so he expanded his business. The manufacturing plants were from Louisville to Virginia, and then it went to Webster City, Iowa. And ownership was changed over the years, and then it went to Continental Baking Company, then Del Monte, and then finally to Conagra Foods. And they shut down the plant in 2000. So that was that. So you don't see those anymore. So that's a shame. But I think I remember my mom buy a frozen pie. I think a chocolate cream pie when I was little, and that was delicious. Who doesn't love chocolate cream pie? So that commercial was very memorable because I remember that. So they're hard to resist. Donuts, that is. Oh, they're wonderful. Okay. Anyway, in the beginning of the program, I mentioned I'm going to talk about two clothing stores that have been closed for a long time in the Chicagoland area. One is Evans Furrier store. The other one is William A. Lewis women's clothing store. And the part two of the TV debuts from the 1970s and 80s. Before I get started, I'll mention a couple things. One, last night I went to a dinner dance at my church, and you notice there's some photos of me, my mother, my brother. I had a wonderful time. It was great. Everyone seemed so happy. The food was excellent. They put on a wonderful party, and they had Vasily the comedian. He's entertained us before. He's a wonderful man. He did not perform. He just was sort of the MC. I was kind of disappointed, but that's okay. I'm glad he showed up. And he came over I went over to him and talked to him. And then he came over to my table and talked to my mother. He loved my mom. He loves my mom, and it was very heartwarming to see that like that. And he met my brother for the first time. He went around from table to table and talked. He was very personable. He's the funniest Greek guy I ever known. I still laugh at what he says. Anyway, so we left about 10:30. It was late, and they had dancing and all that, and it was fabulous. I had a great time. I told him one joke to the comedian. He was taking photos, and I said, "Well, look, it's Van Chicago. Why don't I send him to Photomat?" You remember that? He goes, "Yeah, right." Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy like that. One other thing. Two other things. One, I received some gifts from the Urology Care Foundation. Those are the ones that you see the videos of me talking on social media, and a note. That was in there and said, "Thank you for all your help." And it reached out to the new audience, and it was from Corey Del Bianco. She was in charge of that, and thank you, Corey. And she appreciated everything I did. That was very sweet. Very nice. Also, tomorrow is the last day for Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Please donate. Any amount is fine. You find it on my Facebook profile and also my Instagram account. Also, I found out yesterday while I was at the party that I can't pronounce his name. He's an actor in Days of Our Lives. It's Drake Hagenstein, who plays John Black on Days of Our Lives. He passed away. Oh, that was a shock. I didn't know he was sick. He was 70 years old, and he had pancreatic cancer. And oh my God, another one that died of that stupid disease. And I didn't tell my mom because she watches the show religiously, and I watch it too. And I told her when we got home, and she was very sad because he was a good actor, very handsome. I guess I don't know what they're going to do with his character. Probably they'll kill him off. Probably down the road. I think they tape 6 months in advance, so we won't see that till next year. So that makes Marlena Evans, his wife, TV wife, played by Deirdre Hall. She'll be a widow. I don't know what's going to happen. That's a shame. He's been on the show since the 80s. Oh, a long time. Yeah. But he played someone else. He played Roman, her husband. But that's a long story. I won't go into that. Okay. So, I'm still a little tired. But, the funny thing is when I went to bed last night, they had a party next door, and it was very, very loud. They had some kids, and they were screaming at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was going to call the cops. I didn't want to bother. So they left. It was awful. They don't usually have parties there, but that particular night they did. Oh my God. It's loud. I'm getting old. Anyway, now I'm going to talk about Evans Furrier and is that how you say it? Furrier? and William A. Lewis women's clothing store. Now, Evans store, that was located at 36 South State Street in Chicago, I'm in the loop. They had other locations. I'm not sure. Probably in Old Orchard, maybe Oak Brook, or somewhere else. I remember seeing the sign, Evans, this the logo, the font like that. And I remember looking at the windows when I went downtown with my mom shopping. She used to browse like that. This was a long time ago. And they had fur coats on display. They looked so beautiful. So soft and silky, and like you want to go to bed and you lie in it, but today fur is frowned upon. I can understand that. But fur coats, if it's not, I don't know how it's done. I don't know if people still wear them. I haven't seen it. But back in the old days, fur was a big deal. Very expensive like that. And they were in business for a long, long time. And then I won't go into much history of that. I discussed this in another podcast episode. So they were very popular. They were advertised on TV. And it was on State Street for many years. Many, many years. So, I believe it was a Chicago-based company. Maybe. It might be New York. I'm not sure. So, over the years, like I said before, people's tastes have changed, and fur was, looked down. People look down to it. They don't like it. They don't like killing animals. Okay. I'm sure some people might still have them. They still have fur coats. I see some for sale on eBay and Etsy, for sale. They want to get rid of them like that. But, if you're in the market or, feel nostalgic, go buy a coat if you want to. I doubt people will wear it, but it's perfect for the winter, especially in Chicago. It gets cold in here. Like that. Okay. The second store I want to talk about is William A. Lewis. It was a women's clothing store that was based in Chicago. They opened several stores. I remember the one in the Beverly neighborhood. That was about 2301 West 95th Street. I'll post a photo later on social media. I used to post that a long time ago. I think they had one downtown. Maybe not. I don't remember. But there was one in the Inglewood neighborhood and elsewhere. I think in Oak Brook, shopping mall like that. Maybe Old Orchard. So that was a very popular women's clothing store. My mom shopped there, and she said the clothes were beautiful. And they were there. She bought a few dresses over the years, and have a lot of women have, because I posted some about that story in the past. I've been in Chicagoland, and they remembered their first dress or their shopping experiences with there. They had good customer service, from what I heard, and so it was in business for a long time. I don't know when it went out of business, a long time ago. I'm not sure. So it's William, it's WM A. Lewis. That's how it's spelled. And so, when you grew up in Chicago, when you start talking about businesses that are gone, like my old page, Chicago's extinct businesses, you get the ball rolling, and then you talk about Evans Furrier, and you talk about William A. Lewis, like that. I remember the commercials for William A. Lewis. It was kind of animated in a way. They showed a woman, in slow motion, getting dresses. They showed their marked down prices and all that. So that's a shame. I went shopping with my mom the other day in Orland Square. She was trying to find a dress, or an outfit, for this party last night, and she couldn't find anything. But luckily, she did. She found it at a store. She bought it, and she wore it yesterday, and she looked lovely. A lot of people told her that, and that's great. That's wonderful. At her age, it's hard. That's very hard, So times have changed. Okay. Right now, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'm going to talk about the television debuts from 1974 and 1984. Okay, so it'll be 50 years and 40 years. Okay, so sit back and relax, and I'll be right back, folks. Thank you. Okay, everyone, I'm back. Right now, I'm going to talk about TV debuts from the year 1974 and 1984. I'm not going to list all the shows, just the ones that I used to watch and that are well known to mostly everyone. Okay. First one for 1974 was, let's see, I'll do this in alphabetical order. There was Big Blue Marble. There was a children's television show. I did a podcast episode about that. It aired on Channel 32, WFLD TV in Chicago. And I used to watch this. It aired in the afternoon. So that was a very educational show. I enjoyed it very much. Next was Chico and the Man, that starred Freddie Prinze Sr. and Jack Albertson. They don't show that on reruns anymore, But Freddie Prinze was a wonderful comedian, so gifted. He unfortunately committed suicide, so that's a shame. And they continued the series, but it wasn't the same. But I used to watch it all the time, and I think it was on Channel 9 on WGN, and later on Channel 50. I don't think 32. And so, it was a funny show. I loved it. I don't know if you could see it on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see what else. There was also, Good Times premiered. Funny. One of the funniest shows I ever watched. I talked about that in a previous podcast episode. I think that premiered in January, February. And that was, it's still in reruns. It's hilarious. Most of it didn't make sense, but that's okay. But, Jimmy Walker, who played JJ, he stood out. He stole the show. Of course, some of the cast members didn't like it, but that's how it was. And it's still popular reruns. Okay. Another show I remember another one was Happy Days, and that premiered in January. That starred Ron Howard, and then Henry Winkler joined the show as Fonz, and his character took off, and that lasted for a long, long time. I used to watch it every night not every night, Tuesday nights on Channel 7, WLS TV, then in reruns on Channel 32. It's still popular. It's great. I love this show. I really do. Let's see what else. I talked about Kolchak the Night Stalker on a previous podcast episode, which starred Darren McGavin, based on the 2 TV movies. I have it on Blu-ray now. It's still scary. It was a scary show when I watched it. It's still great. I wish they made more, but it only lasted 20 episodes. So, and then it became a cult to watch it, and I love the show. I really do. They still air it on MeTV if you want to watch it. Also, there's Little House on the Prairie, and that lasted a long, long time. It lasted about 9 years, or something like that. And it starred Michael Landon, who was Little Joe Cartwright on Bonanza. And, it's a great show. It really is. I didn't watch it much, but I've heard, but it was wonderful. Very wholesome, very entertaining. It made Melissa Gilbert famous, and other people as well. And so that's great. So, He was so Michael Landon was in another successful show, and then after that he did Highway to Heaven. I think it's premiered in 1984. We'll find out. Okay, and let's see what else really quickly. No, let's see. Policewoman starred Angie Dickinson. I love that show. She was great. She was one of Sergeant Pepper Anderson. Yeah, I used to watch the reruns like that. I did watch it on prime time, but the reruns are great. You can find it on DVD, I believe. And she was wonderful. She's a pretty lady, and she's still alive. Very nice, very nice. Also, there was Rhoda. I talked about Rhoda before, the 50th anniversary, on a previous podcast episode, and very popular show at first, and it just dwindled. Then it went off the air. I went into more detail about that. Next up was the Rockford Files. Starred James Garner. Now, that was a very successful show. He played a private investigator. Very popular. I remember running reruns on Channel 2 in the afternoon. People watched that all the time. And very enjoyable show. Next up was Shazam, based on the comic book series of Captain Marvel. They didn't use Captain Marvel, the title, because it's some infringement or, copyright nutty thing. And I used to watch on Saturday mornings. I have the DVD. It's great. It's a wonderful show. I love the special effects where Billy Batson turns into Captain Marvel. Like that. Okay. Next, what do we got here? Here's a show that I forgot. I used to watch, but it was on for a couple of years. That's My Mama. I love the theme song, and it was Clifton Davis who was on Men. If you remember that, with Sherman Hemsley. But That's My Mama was funny like that. I have it on DVD. It's a funny show. Also, there was Tony Orlando and Dawn. Starred Tony Orlando, a variety show that was popular like that. And the theme song was "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Tree." That was great like that. Let's see what else. Well, I think that's it for 1974. Now, I'm going to talk about 1984. Okay, here we go. There was Airwolf that starred Ernest Borgnine and Jan Michael Vincent. I used to watch it. I think it was Saturday nights, and that was great. Yeah, I liked the show very much. It was like with a helicopter like that. Okay, next up, we got The Cosby Show. When Bill Cosby returned to television, that blew the competition away. Ratings shot up at the roof, and it was a very clean family show, and people loved it. And it was one of the most successful African-American TV shows of all time. I used to watch it, and, I watch reruns lately of that, and it's great. It's funny, I know what happened to Bill Cosby lately, with the scandal and all that, but that's tough. But he's a funny man, and the cast was great like that. And that paved the way for a successful Thursday night of great TV. Like you had The Cosby Show, Family Ties, Cheers, Night Court. We'll get to Night Court in a second. And Hill Street Blues, and then L.A. Law replaced that, and that was must-see TV on NBC. I used to watch that a lot. That was fun. Okay, let's see what else. Let's see. There was also Hunter that aired on. I don't know what night it's. But then I don't know what night it aired at first, but then it moved to Saturday nights, and then the Golden Girls premiered the following year, and then 227, and then when it did that, Saturday nights was popular as well. So that's great, That was amazing. So that's next year. I'll talk about that. Okay, and then the premiere of Jeopardy with Alex Trebek, and that was 40 years ago. The original premiered in 1964. It was Art Fleming, but that I remember watching the first show. I did watch it. We had a VCR, thank God, at the time. I still watch it to this day. Alex Trebek is no longer with us. I watch it with my mom. That's one of her favorite shows. We watch it together. We look forward to it every day to watch that, and it's fun. And it's like a half an hour just pass. So that was wonderful. That is wonderful to watch. I still enjoy it. I really do. Next up is Kate and Ally. It starred Jane Curtin and Susan St. James, one of the successful sitcoms. They were funny together. It was hilarious, especially Jane Curtin. She makes faces like that. That went on for a few years, and that aired on CBS. So I don't have it on DVD. Maybe I'll buy it someday. I know it's available. So it's been years since I've seen it. Years like that. Okay. Another one that stood out was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, where it was hosted by Robin Leach. He used to be on Entertainment Tonight, and he would introduce big houses, mansions, estates of famous people, not just celebrities like that. And they were so opulent, so lavish. You were embarrassed to walk into it, and most was like in California. It was great seeing that. It lasted a few years like that. Next up is Miami Vice. That premiered in 1984. They were neck and neck with Falcon Crest. I used to watch that. And it beat them in the competition. And it made Don Johnson a huge star. And he's starting a new show. Now, I think it's Dr. Odyssey. It's great to see him back on TV, and I did watch it a few times. I didn't really like it at first, but then it's a great show. It's wonderful, with the pastel suits and the Miami scenery like that. Another show I enjoyed was Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, based on the authors, with the stories that starred Stacy Keach. That was a great show. I liked that one, I used to watch reruns. Also, one of my favorites is Murder, She Wrote, which is the 40th anniversary coming up tomorrow, that is. And it starred Angela Lansbury, and that show put her on the map. I have it on DVD. I watched the entire series from the beginning to the end. I used to watch it all the time on Sunday nights. Then it moved to Thursdays. It was a great show. I loved it. I really do. She was great. It zoomed to popularity right after 60 Minutes. So you can imagine like that. Okay. Of course, Night Court was on with Harry Anderson and as the crazy judge. That was a crazy show. I loved it. I really did. I really enjoyed it. Let's see what else. Let's see what we got here. Just mention a couple things. Oh, there was V, the miniseries, with the lizards that came out of from outer space. Oh, that was scary. That was a scary show. And I watched the sequel too, like that. And the last one is Who's the Boss with Tony Danza. And this one, he was successful in Taxi, but this one was very successful. And he was great. He was wonderful. So it lasted a long time, and I like the guy. I really do. So that was a lot of fun. Okay. So that's it for this show. I covered a lot of ground. So I'll do a recap of what I talked about. I talked about the two clothing stores that were in the Chicagoland area. Evans Furrier and William A. Lewis women's clothing store. Also, I talked about the TV anniversaries from 1974 and 1984. This podcast will be published later on today, wherever podcasts are available: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Breaker, Overcast. Just tap on those apps on your devices. Tap on following. You'll get the latest notifications of the shows. You can listen to previous episodes. Also be on my blog, vanishchicagoland.blog. You can click on that, and it'll take you a link to listen if you'd like. Also be on my YouTube channel. Time and time again, people ask me, where do I find your podcast? Where do I find your podcast? Find it on YouTube. Type in my name. Type in Van Chicagoland Stories. Either way, click on subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. Listen to that episode. Listen to the recent episode. You can listen to previous episodes as you wish. I ran into a friend of mine yesterday, and he asked me about where I find your podcast. Find it there. And I showed it to him on my phone. And he's going to listen, which is great. Also, be sure to my social media accounts, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Okay. So that's it for this program. I will probably do another podcast Tuesday. We'll see. And I hope so. So this is Pico Sanchez, your host for Van Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Today is kind of a cloudy, sprinkly day. It's Sunday. The Bears are on, so have fun watching the Chicago Bears on TV. I hope they win. I hope. I don't know. So, I got to take a nap this afternoon. I'm too bushed. I couldn't sleep last night with a party last night. So, here's bye-bye for me, and here's a little traveling music with Ray Rayner saying bye, bye, bye. Take care, everyone, and so long.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.